that COVID cases are rising again, but not enough to cause much concern. With Chicago and much of the U.S. having moved on from mitigations, it can start to feel like the pandemic is a thing of the past. But that could change as federal cash used to provide treatment, free testing, vaccines to everybody, regardless of insurance, starts to run out. Congress hasn't been able to come up with a deal to extend the programs for now. Right now, bipartisan negotiations are underway on a $10 billion package that would pull funding from other areas to get it done. Congressman Brad Schneider, thanks for joining me this morning. I appreciate it. Lots to talk to you about. First, COVID funding running out. It looks like a deal has been struck in the Senate for $10 billion, but Nancy Pelosi not happy that international funds are not included because COVID can come from anywhere. What's your position?
Well, the first thing is we have to recognize COVID's not done yet with us yet. I know a lot of people who are still getting COVID. My son had COVID last week. The other thing we know is that if you are vaccinated, and even better if you are boosted, the likelihood of COVID putting you in the hospital or worse, threatening your life is dramatically reduced. So we need to continue our fight. We can't walk away from it. The administration has asked for additional COVID funds. I do believe that we should be paying for those funds, finding a way to find the resources. But as you mentioned, Speaker Pelosi is concerned. We should all be concerned that it's not just a fight here at home. We have to protect our folks at home. We have to protect our families and our communities. But a outbreak of COVID anywhere in the world has the risk of bringing new variants, new strains here to the United States. So this is a global fight. We're in it with the rest of the world. We need to work with the rest of the world, and the rest of the world is looking for U.S. leadership.
If the bill comes to you without the international money, would you support it, or would that be a no?
Well, I'm going to look at every bill. If there's a bill that comes that takes care of the needs we have here at home, I'm obviously going to support that. That doesn't mean I'm not going to continue to fight for our work and leadership around the world.
All right, let's talk about the economy a little bit. The president proposing a $5.8 trillion budget for fiscal 2023 with a deficit of $1.15 trillion. But the bottom line is he's always touting about how great things are. Look, today the numbers came out, 400, or I should say this end of the week, 431,000 new jobs. The unemployment rate down to 3.6%. All that's lovely, but people are going to the grocery stores and they're paying a lot of money, Congressman. Isn't that all that matters?
So let me touch on all those things. You made some key points. The economy is growing. Last year, we had 5.7% GDP growth. Over the last 14 months, we've created more jobs in our economy than any previous 14 months in our history. Just as you mentioned, on Friday, they announced that 431 new jobs created. Unemployment is down to 3.6%. And importantly, participation, people coming into the workforce is on the rise. Those are all good things, and we should be proud of them, and it puts us in a good position to fight for what we need to fight for, a growing and healthy economy. But we can't deny that inflation is a real concern and a real impact on families. It affects our price at the gas pump. It affects what we're paying for food, for rent, for healthcare, childcare, et cetera. And we need to address this. And that's why we're working to do that. Part of what was included in the Build Back Better package that we're still working to try to push through Congress would be lowering the cost of healthcare for working families, lowering the cost of childcare, addressing the supply chain issues. Cars have gone through the roof, and we know part of that is a lack of the microprocessing chips. So we're trying to bring that manufacturing back home. Intel's announced they're building a plant in Ohio. All of these things together, no one thing will solve the problem, but all of these things together is going to increase supply, increase opportunity, make sure people are in jobs that are providing them a living wage, and hopefully bring down prices.
And the president announcing this past week he's going to release 1 million barrels a day of oil from the U.S. reserves. That's historical since they've been tracking this thing since it's existed about 40 years or so. And he's going to do it for 6 months. He did it before. We didn't feel it at the pump. Gas companies can do what they want with regard to charging. Will this help?
Well, like I said, there's no silver bullet that's going to solve all our problems. We know that we have a supply issue with oil because of the war in Ukraine. Putin's war is affecting not just energy prices, but food prices. And so, again, we need to be doing what we can. And I think tapping into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is a piece of that. But it's not the only piece. We need to look at other ways to ensure that all Americans have the energy they need in the immediate term. And the other piece is we need to look long term so that we're not dependent on states like Russia, like Venezuela, other bad actors who have so much petroleum reserves.
Of course, the budget also includes the president saying higher taxes for the highest, the 0.1 of 1% and all of that. I don't know, Congressman, it's like people don't hear that. Again, all they see is what they see in the grocery stores, and all they hear is new taxes. Republicans are very good at messaging there. What do Democrats do to get people to understand that that some people may have to pay higher taxes?
Paul, you're right, and it's frustrating. I know Rick Scott, Senator Rick Scott from Florida, who's leading the Republican platform, if you will, announced a plan that would raise taxes on working families. What President Biden's talking about is making sure that people pay their fair share of taxes. And Warren Buffett says this: he should not be paying a lower tax rate than what his assistant is paying. I think we need tax reform. I'm on the Ways and Means Committee responsible for evaluating our entire tax structure. What we did last fall as part of Build Back Better would have brought in almost $2.5 trillion over the next 10 years into the government to pay for our programs, to help reduce our debt, and to do it in a fair way. We need to make sure that that U.S. corporations are paying taxes competitive with the rest of the world. We have companies, how many of our Fortune 500 companies are having record profits and pay zero taxes? So we can have a responsible, smart tax structure that grows our economy, that promotes opportunity, creates jobs, and make sure that we're responsibly paying for the programs we choose to do as a country.
The Illinois Comptroller, Susana Mendoza, who's also on today's show, she's been out to see it. She's going back to Washington. She wants the feds to forgive the interest tied to the loans we have. But of course, the federal government's bleeding money too. Why should Illinois not have to pay the interest we agreed to pay?
I don't think I've talked to her about that. What I believe, and I'll take it in a different direction. I know that Illinois is what's considered a donor state. We pay as a state, all of our citizens pay more to the federal government than the state gets back in return. We're subsidizing states around the country for some of their programs. I want to make sure that Illinois taxpayers are being treated fairly. That's why I helped form the bipartisan SALT caucus, trying to repeal the cap on the SALT deduction that's penalizing Illinois families. Illinois families shouldn't be paying taxes twice on the same things. The SALT cap forces that, and that's a tax on working families that is unfair and something I want to address.
Before we run out of time, a budget bill passed which allowed congressmen to get what used to be called pork. Let's call it pork. It is, but I want to give you a chance to give us the one or two things that you're bringing home to your district that you're happy about.
Paul, I'm going to challenge your premise. One of the things I do as representative is understand the needs of my district better than any other member of Congress. And that should be the responsibility of each member for their own respective districts. As part of the appropriations process, we were able to advocate for up to 10 projects within our communities. This was an open process where communities presented their ideas. We looked at them and identified 10 that we thought would have the biggest impact and the greatest chance of getting funding. We didn't expect to get all 10 funded. We were fortunate that all 10 did receive funding. And these are things like flood management. In my district, when the skies rain, we look to the rivers to see if they're going to flood. This helps in North Chicago, Waukegan, Park City, Zion on flood management, have an impact around the district. Economic development in places like Prospect Heights and Mundelein, bringing people together, lifting up the communities during a time of COVID, but also this is going to have an impact for years to come.
All right, and Congressman, I've run out of time, and I know people can go to your website and check out all the other projects. I wanted to at least give you a chance to talk about some of the things that you could call it pork or not, but the projects.
Investments in our communities, I'm very proud of them. I'm proud of what we're doing.
Community investment. Congressman Brad Schneider, thanks for your time, sir. Appreciate it. Have a good Sunday.
You too. Take care.
And one last